Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Now, today we're going to continue our program about being wined and dined by The Wine Show. This is a program that is airing on TLC, and it is hosted by two fellas who both have the same first name, Matthew Good and Matthew Reese. I hope I said the second one correctly there. These guys are named Matthew, and last time they went to Italy, and they were looking for a wine that could encapsulate Italy's history, culture, and local charm.
They're looking for 12, Tom.
Yeah, not just one, but actually 12 different kinds of wine. So if you talk about a kind of wine or a brand of wine, then it's countable, 12 wines, but usually wine is non-countable. How much wine did you drink? I drank 1 glass of wine.
Yeah, and we would talk about having a bottle of wine. Yeah, I brought a bottle of wine over to the party, or to the dinner. I'll have a glass of wine. I'll have 2 glasses. So, we've got these two Matthews. We spent some time in Italy, and now we're off to South Africa, where a lot of wine is actually produced.
That's true. So, don't just think of Italy and France when you think of wine. There are lots of other places that offer some mighty fine wine. And we're going to South Africa in today's program. So let's find out what this is all about. Joe is down in Cape Town. Let's listen. While the Matthews are off touring Montepulciano, Joe is in Cape Town, the birthplace of South African wine. The first European settlers to the area planted vines they'd brought with them in 1655. 4 years later, the first grapes grown in South Africa were made into wine. In 1679, Simon van der Stel, the colony's commander, created the first vineyard there, calling it Constantia. For the next 200 years, Constantia's Vin de Constance was one of the world's most sought-after wines. Between the 19th and 20th centuries, however, the vineyard's production levels dropped for multiple reasons, including taxation policies and disease. Production stopped for many years, and when it started up again, South Africa was living through apartheid. No one outside the country could buy Vin de Constance because of the sanctions placed on South Africa by the UN. Finally, in 1994, apartheid ended, and South Africa's wine industry came back to life. While Joe's in South Africa, he's fortunate enough to learn about the process of making Vin de Constance. Arriving at the vineyard at 4 a.m., he sets to work picking ripe grapes bunch by bunch. Later in the day, while talking to Constantia's managing director Hans Ostrom, Joe gets the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to taste history. Hans brings out a bottle of Vin de Constance from 1791, offering Joe a drink first bottled 228 years ago. Ecstatic about the amazing opportunity he's been given, Joe rejoins the two Matthews to tell them about his tale. Fortunately, he's brought gifts. Though he's unable to share another ancient bottle, Joe has returned with a modern-day bottle of Vin de Constance, and the men drank to their recent wine adventures.
Okay, guys, we're going to follow our Matthews. They're off touring Montepulciano. Joe is in Cape Town, the birthplace of South African wine. I don't know much about wine at all, but I have heard that they grow grapes there in South Africa, and they make really good wine. So Joe is in Cape Town. That's in South Africa, and that's also the birthplace. The birthplace of something is where something first started. So we've got the first European settlers to the area. They went to South Africa and they planted vines they'd brought with them in 1655, a long time ago. So if you're a settler, you're a person who goes from one country to another, a very brand new area where there aren't very many people, or maybe no inhabitants, or at least none from your area of the world. They're usually indigenous people there, people who had already lived there for a long time. But the first Europeans to go to the area were smart enough to bring some plants along with them. Of course, they loved their wine, so they brought along their plants, their grapes, and they planted them there way back in 1655.
That is going a long way back in history. So these are the settlers there moving down to South Africa, and they brought those vines with them. And 4 years later, the first grapes grown in South Africa were made into wine. So as you know, if you want to make wine, you need to let it ferment for a long time. I think they use barrels of wood or something like that, and they place them in a cold, dark place and just let them sit there for a couple of years. So, of course, it took some time for the first wine to be sold there, but indeed, later on, 4 years later, those grapes had been fermented in those barrels and they were made into wine and people could enjoy them. Now, in 1679, Simon van der Stel, the colony's commander, created the first vineyard there, calling it Constantia. Okay, I hope I said that right because I think these settlers in South Africa were Dutch, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I'm not really too clear on South African history here. But in any case, they set up this colony. When you're moving from one place to another place and you're starting a new civilization or whatever, then that's a colony. Like, of course, the United States had those colonies back in the 1700s, which later revolted against England to become its own country. But in any case, yes, they've got this colony there, and the person in charge is the commander. So commander is somebody who's in a position of leadership. It's a leadership position. Commander is also a military rank in the Navy, if I'm not mistaken.
Or even in the police force. I have a brother-in-law who is his rank, his title is commander. So the colony's commander, he created the first vineyard there. Notice we're not saying vineyard, guys. Vineyard, that's what it looks like. It's kind of tricky. We say vineyard. Sorry about that. And he named it Constantia. For the next 200 years, Constantia's Vin de Constance, is that how you said it?
Yeah, I was guessing at the French pronunciation.
Was one of the world's most sought-after wines. When you see something that is sought after, sought is the past tense form of seek. To seek means you go and find something. To be sought after means, ooh, a lot of people like you. A lot of people want you, and they're looking for it. So if you're a sought-after product, a lot of people are very interested in purchasing you, enjoying you. And so this guy, this commander, must have been pretty proud that his vineyard was producing such really good-tasting wine. Notice that sought after has a hyphen in the middle of the two words. To seek, sought, of course, would be a verb after. This is an unusual adjective, but it turns it into an adjective, sought after. What kind of wine was it? It was a very sought after wine.
Yeah, just like here in Taiwan, of course, there's an award-winning whiskey called Cavalan. So that is quite sought after by whiskey drinkers all over the world. They want to try it. Yeah, we got to try that whiskey from Taiwan. I've heard it's really good. But yes, indeed. This wine is quite popular all over the world, and maybe they sell it somewhere here in Taiwan, and if you can get yourself a bottle, hey, your friends will be so jealous of you. So it's a sought-after wine. Lots of people want to get some. Now, between the 19th and 20th centuries, however, the vineyard's production levels dropped for multiple reasons, including taxation policies and disease. So between the 19th and 20th centuries, that would be the 1800s and the 1900s, between those two centuries, the production levels of this vineyard dropped. The production levels went down. They weren't producing a lot of wine during that time for many or multiple reasons. And some of those reasons included taxation policies. Taxation, of course, is when a government taxes people in various ways. There could be income tax from your salary. They keep a little bit of money. A little bit of money goes to the government. It could be sales tax. tax. It could be taxes on wine. It could be taxes on tobacco, etc., etc. So in this particular case, they probably taxed the wine too much and they weren't able to make a profit.
Right. And back then, of course, governments, countries would tax the really expensive products that only the rich could afford to buy anyway. So their taxation policies, what they decided to tax people on, was responsible for the drop in production and also disease. Yeah, that period of history had a lot of people dying from diseases, and we had no vaccinations, no ways to fight those diseases. So production stopped for many years, and when it started up again, South Africa was living through apartheid. So if you live through something, it just means you're experiencing something that's happening at the time. I could say that my grandfather lived through World War II. He was actually in Germany when the war broke out, and he lived through the first part of the war and then returned home to the U.S. Now, apartheid is a situation that they had there in South Africa where the blacks and the whites were separated, and they had a system of segregation for these two groups of people, which was very unfair, considering especially that the blacks were the original people in that area. It wasn't the Europeans at all.
Yeah, and apartheid lasted a long time, all the way up until, I think, 1991 or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
94.
Where somewhere in there. So in any case, yes, that was a problem, I guess, for wine production. And no one outside the country could buy Vin de Constance because of the sanctions placed on South Africa by the UN. So the UN and other countries were opposed to apartheid, but South Africa kept this system. So the rest of the world said, well, if you guys keep that system, we're going to impose sanctions on you. And sanctions, of course, are quite popular these days as a way to punish countries. You basically don't allow people to do business with you. You freeze their bank accounts and stuff like that. You basically take some economic actions against someone, like the U.S. has economic sanctions on Iran and other countries.
North Korea, yeah. So, yeah, it's what other countries do to countries they feel are doing bad things. So finally, in 1994, apartheid ended and South Africa's wine industry came back to life. So while Joe's in South Africa, he's going to be learning about the process of making this particular type of wine. But before we head there, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher explain for a little bit of time, and then we'll be back to continue on with our journey.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要来继续来看这一篇文章。我们要谈一个 TLC 上面的一个节目，叫做 The Wine Show 美酒追緝令。好，当然重点就是在找好酒，找美酒。那我们也知道主持人他们到处去寻访，在意大利他们要判断到底哪一个酒是可以真的代表当地的文化。他们这时候在游历的时候 Joe 他可在另外一个地方，这里是 Cape Town， 也就是南非的开普敦。好，那我们要提到说在南非这里啊，它有一点特别，因为这个地方有第一批的欧洲殖民到这里来开始种葡萄，然后呢这边种的葡萄收成制成了葡萄酒。后来在1679年的时候呢，当时他们成立了第一座的葡萄园。好，那我们来看看接下来到现在为止，这个地方可以都说它是世界上最受欢迎的葡萄酒产地。那这个酒也就是今天这一段节目里面要讲的主角。好，不过我们来看，说到这个酒，可是大家都说好，大家很喜欢喝的，所以他说这个酒是 the most sought after wines。我们知道 sought 这个字其实是过去分词，哪一个字的过去分词呢？ S-E-E-K seek。我们知道 seek 过去式sought 过去分词 sought， 所以 sought after 也就是被追、被寻找，大家想要求的这样子的酒，所以是最受欢迎的葡萄酒之一。 好，那我们来看看下面这段就提到，它的历史哦。当然，往前他说到19、20世纪的时候呢，当时的生产水准，因为很多的原因，所以下降了。好，停产了一段时间。后来呢，南非呢，因为有种族隔离政策，结果呢，联合国对他制裁，所以当时呢，在国外你买不到他们的葡萄酒，所以好像有一段期间，大家都不会注意到南非是有产葡萄酒的。好，那我们来看看这个地方有一个字，也许我们比较少见到，因为我们知道在美国的种族隔离政策，大家可能会想到 racial segregation， 但是在南非这里有一个字，大家可能比较不熟悉的就是 apartheid。 好，这个就代表种族隔离。好，接下来我们继续往下看，下面就说到那后来当然种族隔离结束了，那南非的葡萄酒产业也就开始获得重生。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. Of course, we got Joe in South Africa here. He's learning about this wine called Vin de Constance. So while Joe's in South Africa, when he's there, he's fortunate enough to learn about the process of making Vin de Constance. So yes, he's lucky here. He gets to learn about how it's made. Most of us can probably go into a wine store and buy a bottle of it if we have a lot of money. But a lot of people just don't have the chance to actually see how it's made, to be taken into the vineyard and see how they pick the grapes and how they crush the grapes and how they put them into barrels and stuff like that. But he's fortunate. He gets to check it all out. Someone takes him back there behind the scenes and shows him how it's done.
Cool. Well, arriving at the vineyard at 4 a.m. Wow, that's early. He sets to work picking ripe grapes bunch by bunch. If you've seen grapevines, you know how they grow. Actually, we have some grapevines in my parents' backyard. It's kind of fun to watch them grow. We don't have the purple grapes. We have the green grapes that grow in hot weather a little bit better. So if something is ripe, you'll see this word used, especially with fruit and vegetables, primarily fruit though. When something is ripe, it's just ready to be eaten. Sometimes they have to pick fruit and vegetables early so they can ship them to another part of the world. And then when they become ripe, they're not as tasty, but these are going to be really tasty. So they're ripe, they're ready to be picked. Bunch by bunch. Grapes grow in bunches, if you've ever noticed that. It's not just one grape, one grape, one grape. They're just bunches of them together. You could have a bunch of homework. You could have a bunch of friends come over. We just use it to talk about, it's a measure word for groups of things, but bunch, yeah. A bunch of, I have a bunch of ants on the floor. I have a bunch of cockroaches I want to kill, things like that. Here there are grapes, and they actually grow in groups. We call bunches.
Right, and they're growing bunch by bunch, or at least they're picking the grapes bunch by bunch. So this is a common pattern, bunch by bunch, or little by little, bit by bit. For example, when I was younger, I was frustrated because I was practicing the guitar and I wasn't getting any better. But my mother said, hey, practice every day and you'll improve little by little with time. So here they were just picking one bunch at a time, because you need those grapes to make wine. And they started at 4 a.m. And later in the day, while talking to Constantia's managing director, Hans Ostrom, Joe gets the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to taste history. So, of course, when we live our lives, of course, we're always looking for that once-in-a-lifetime event, something that very few people get to do, like climbing Mount Everest or something like that, or flying in space or whatever. That's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to do something. He gets this once-in-a-lifetime chance to taste history, to taste a very special kind of wine that nobody else gets to try.
It's amazing how old it is. I looked this wine up, Tom. It's a sweet dessert wine, so I don't think you'd like this kind of wine anyway.
Oh, but it'd be worth it to be able to brag about it.
Yeah, not many people get to taste something that is that old. That's amazing. So Hans, he brings out a bottle of this Vin de Constance from 1791.
Ooh.
I would just be curious to see what the bottle looked like.
Wow.
And he's a good guy. He offers Joe a drink, first bottled 228 years ago. Of course, you know, it's a TV show, so they can afford that bottle of wine. I bet to buy that bottle of wine would cost a fortune.
Oh, it certainly would, and I'm sure it's quite sought after by wine tasters all over the world. It was bottled 228 years ago. I think that was during the time of the French Revolution. And here in the next paragraph it says, ecstatic about the amazing opportunity he's been given, Joe rejoins the two Matthews to tell them about his tale. Yes, we can't blame him there. That is certainly something to brag about. So he is ecstatic. Ecstatic just means really, really happy. The kind of happiness that you only experience once in a lifetime. Oh, you can be ecstatic about all sorts of things. If, say, if the New York Yankees won the World Series, Stephanie would be ecstatic. You'd be extremely happy because, gee, they haven't won the World Series in 10 years.
Yeah, I would be ecstatic. Ecstatic, yeah, that's our vocabulary word there. It's an adjective. Really, really happy, overjoyed, a lot of excitement that you feel about something you've done. You could be ecstatic, you know, getting engaged, or be ecstatic because you just got a promotion at work and now you're the president of the company, something like that. So it's something where you're really happy, really joyful. Well, he was just given this amazing opportunity to taste wine that most people will never get the chance to do. So he rejoins the two Matthews and he tells them about his tale. Now, most Americans were too lazy to pronounce these words differently, but it should be, the verb is tell and the noun is tale, with more of an A sound, to tell them about his tale. But we're lazy, so you'll hear most of us say to tell them about his tale.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. But they are pronounced a little differently. Tale, of course, is a story or, you know, his experience. Fortunately, to make them feel a little better because, you know, they didn't get the big experience of tasting this really old wine. Joe's a good guy and he's brought them gifts.
Gifts, right. That's a tradition in Japan, of course. I think when you visit someone's home, you're supposed to bring a little gift, which is similar to the word present, but we get presents at Christmas. A gift is something that you give someone in a special occasion, like when you visit their house, or in this case, when he's brought a gift for his hosts here. And again, we're talking about Joe. He's got gifts for those Matthews there. And though he's unable to share another ancient bottle, Joe has returned with a modern-day bottle of Vin de Constance. So, yeah, I guess he would have been asking too much to say, hey, can you give me one of those really old bottles to take back to my friends up there in Italy? Nah, sorry. We already gave you a glass. That's enough. Don't push your luck. Don't wear out your welcome here. But so he was still able to get a modern-day bottle of Vin de Constance, which is still pretty cool. Still pretty cool. I wouldn't mind having a sip myself.
I would just be curious as to how different it would taste. Does it make it sweeter? Does it make it, you know, kind of a stronger taste? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. When I hear about these old bottles, I'm always curious. So Joe has come and bringing gifts, you could say. And he's got a modern-day bottle of the wine. And the men drink to their recent wine adventures. We use that phrase to drink to something when you're, you know, you've got something to celebrate. Let's drink to our newly married couple, or let's drink to your promotion, or let's drink to your health. Do you ever give toasts like that, Tom?
Sure. If I'm at a special party or something like that, you will drink to something. Of course, sometimes you just raise a toast, you know. You can say, let's toast. Let's toast to our victory. Let's drink to our victory. I'm sure that's what happened to a lot of people in Washington, D.C. last year year when the Nationals won the World Series. Hey, let's drink to our team. Let's celebrate. Let's have some wine. And of course, at New Year's Eve there, when New Year's comes in just a couple of days here, it's January 30th today, so tomorrow night at about midnight, lots of people will drink to the new year.
Cool. So, if you want to learn a little bit more about wine, this is definitely the show you want to tune into and check it out. I think it would be entertaining. Plus, you'll get to see some pretty beautiful scenery in these different areas they travel to. Right now, we're going to listen one last time to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to wrap up.
那么 Joe 他就在南非这个地方，他呢想要了解一下，这个地方的葡萄酒是怎么样酿造制作出来的。好，这个凌晨4点钟到这里，然后开始一串一串的采摘这些成熟的葡萄，看到一串一串的 bunch by bunch。我们知道，通常我们英文里面用到 bunch 就是表示有一束，换句话说就是像这边形容葡萄一串一串的那个样子。有时候我们甚至于说 a bunch of people 就是一群人，当然是一小群不会是那么一大群啊。好，再来我们继续往下看，下面就说到那一天呢，他们来到这里，跟有一位这个当地的常务董事一起聊天，然后他很幸运的，他得到了一个千载难逢的机会来品味历史。这怎么说？好，千载难逢 ，once in a lifetime， 这样的机会，一生大概只有一次。好，我们看他真的是太幸运了，他喝到了这个是在228年前就装瓶的酒。看到这个动词 bottled，first bottled 228 years ago， 这个 bottled 其实是过去分词，它用来修饰前面说的 a drink。那想想看，这已经超过200年的历史了，而他却有幸能够喝到，有幸能够品尝到。再来，最后这段就说到了 Joe， 他呢当然可想而知，欣喜若狂。看到这个字了吗？ Ecstatic。一个人如果说用这个字来描述他的心情，那真的是 on cloud nine。on cloud nine 意思也就是好像已经是跑到九霄云外那样子的高兴的心情。好，接下来他就说了，那后来呢，当然他跟2位主持人 Matthew 他们碰面之后提到这个故事，不过机会已经错过了，这2位 Matthews 可是喝不到的。不过最后他们还是举杯共饮。好，这个地方 drink to their recent wine adventures， 举杯共饮。今天的节目就到这边结束哦，下次见。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Wine does sound very tasty, but take it easy for the new year here. Of course, you can have a party, but you can't get behind the wheel of a car if you're drunk. Don't do that. We want you to keep on living so you can listen to our program. From all of us here at English Digest, my name is Tom.
And I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.